One thing to consider when you're buying a duplex is who's going to pay for the utilities. There's some things that we see and come in frequently. You'll get an owner that said, hey, I have the tenants pay gas, electric, and heat, and maybe even the water, sewer, and garbage, and they aren't split. And what I mean by that is a lot of duplexes will have one furnace, one water heater, or one electrical system. They won't have two separate electrical circuit breaker boxes. They won't have two separate furnaces. And I'd say 98% of the time they're going to have the same water meter. The problem that comes into being that if you decide that, okay, I'm going to do what this owner did, or I'm going to do this on my own, I'm going to have them pay for half the heat each. The company that provides the heat, if they find this out, if the tenants let that company know that, and it's not separated, that you will actually get charged back all the money that you've charged your tenants. I've seen this happen numerous times. Tenants will get, they'll get the knowledge and they'll say, okay, I've been paying heat and I don't know that it's fair because Joe upstairs has 2 levels and they're paying 50% of the heat and I only have 1 level. Why am I paying for the heat? And they'll go to the company that like Xcel Energy and they'll say, hey, this is what's going on. Xcel Energy will contact you, actually give the tenants their money back, and then charge you for the heat going back as far as that's been going on. It's not a good situation, especially with water, sewer, and garbage. Generally, properties only have one service. Generally it's one water system coming into the house, and it's not 2 separate pipes coming in that each unit has their own water, unless it's like a newer, say 1990s duplex or newer. You're generally not going to see that. I've seen people even try to separate that in the water for an apartment. And it's like, well, how do you know how much water each individual apartment building is using, or, each individual unit? It doesn't work well, and it's actually illegal. So it is an important thing to have, and you're generally not going to have it on water, sewer, and garbage, but you will generally have it on electricity and also on heat. If you don't have it, I would recommend trying to split it, because it does make a big difference over time. You're not paying that bill, and it actually adds value to the property. I have a friend that had bought a 4-plex. They split the electricity and the heat, and it actually added considerable value over what they had prior to having all one system, because the tenants are now paying the heat, they're paying the electricity, and that's not coming out of your monthly income. The other thing to note on that is if I have people that'll buy a property and they'll say, okay, this doesn't have separate heat. What I'll do is I will charge more for the rent, and that'll make up for the difference that I'm paying the heat. Most tenants don't look at that. They look at, okay, here's how much I can afford monthly. They won't look as far as in depth as, hey, the heat is paid, I can pay more for this property. So you're going to essentially price yourself out of the market if you try to charge, say, $100 more for the fact that you're paying for heat. If the tenant is paying the heat, they don't think about it so much. But if they're actually having it paid for as part of their rent, and you're increasing their rent, they're not gonna look at your place. They're gonna say, okay, I can't afford an $1,100 place. I can only afford a $1,000 place. So that's something to really pay attention to. And I would say 30% of the properties that are out there, duplex, triplex, or 4-plex, you're going to have at least one of those things that's not separated. Either the heat, which is more common to not have that separated, or the electricity, or sometimes even both, where you only have one system for everything. So that's something to definitely keep in mind, and it does really hamper your ability to make a solid income from the property when it's not separated. Feel free to give me a call. My number is 612-332-9000, or reach out to us via email. It's jason@theduplexdoctors.com.